Hey guys, coldbrew here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're covering the live arena, the newest content added to Raid Shadow Legends, where all players are supposed to go one-on-one against each other, fighting in a live scenario of classic arena, the classic arena rules, and even some special rules for the gold tier of the live arena. Did this play out right? Well, some of you guys in the community don't think so, and some of you guys even completely stopped playing. We'll be covering that in today's video, and actually giving some recommendations. Maybe Plarium can watch this and actually change this new game mode. So live arena was added about a month ago, I want to say, and I did play it a lot at the start. Okay, me personally played it a lot. I did get my good share of wins and losses. I do have about a 60% win rate, 63% win rate with 554 battles throughout the time. But we are seeing a decline in actual players playing the game. They've been finding each other in the live arena fights too often, and especially the players at the top have been just waiting for others to catch up. We only see how many players? About 11 players reaching the gold tier of live arena, which honestly, I thought more players would have reached that point by now. But it seems to be that not everybody enjoys it as much as it's supposed to do. The meta at the top is pretty much the same, with you seeing the same champions over and over, and the community thinks so of the same. They've put it in my community post, and they've written down some of their concerns. So let me just show you exactly what I mean, guys. I posted this 3 weeks ago. How many live arena fights do you do per day? With a solid 36%, so more than a third of you guys out there who follow me over on social media, or at least would be able to see it through community posts on YouTube, but it's usually by my subscribers. 36% says 0 fights per day, which is extreme. Okay, I would say you should be trying to do a couple of fights per day at least, but I understand your guys' concerns. 31% with doing, look at that, 1 to 5 fights. And this was on the heights of live arena. I went ahead and did another community post just 2 days ago, just to see, with the same kind of questions, what kind of response I would get. And we did get some solid responses here. Look at that. 2 days ago, asked the same exact thing. How many live arena fights do you do per day? I did this poll again 3 weeks ago. I explained that. And 2.6 thousand votes on this one. I know it's not the 4,500 votes that we had before, but have a look at that. It's kind of crazy to think that this would change so much. 49% of you guys mentioned 0 fights per day, which is an insane increase to the 36% it was before. 13% increase. 32% mentioned 1 to 5 fights a day. 16% 6 to 10. 3% 11 to 15, which is refreshing once with your gems. And then only 1% mentioned they play more than 15 fights per day, which is the most extreme, I would say, of players doing 2 paid refreshes per day, or even more than that. So the comment section was even crazier than that. The comment section is honestly the vocal players who have the most concerns with the content that they are facing. And some of them were like, so I love the idea of live arena. It's just implemented poorly. I wish they would introduce custom modes with the possibility of different rules. This is pretty boring. Yes, I did mention this in the past as well. I would love to see some custom rules, either 1 or 2 times per week, where something is added to our champions, such as maybe a power up of 50 crit damage or 100% crit damage on epics. That would introduce some variety of players being able to now use their epic champions to go head to head against legendaries and try to push in live arena, especially the lower players who have mostly epics compared to the more veteran whale players who have more legendaries. They would be able to bring out their epics, equip them with some gear, have those days also be 0 silver cost of moving gear around. That would be something that players would just go crazy about. Have it like that, Plarium. Just try it once and you'll see the difference. I got into Silver 2 this morning and finding the game of drafting and banning the most fun part of it, honestly. I would say the same thing, but the drafting part for me in silver is pretty much the same. We are using dupe champions. I would see the drafting part being the most important in gold tier. The banning part is important, I would say, more than anything else currently in silver tier. Philosophers right here said, too painful to play right now at all, just feeling like food for whales and super endgame players. Yes, this is a big concern given the matchmaking and especially given the windows where live arena is open. Being that the live arena is split between 4 2-hour windows, players can fight whoever is on at the time, right? Based on the matchmaking system that Plarium has implemented. The problem with that is you'll find some big disparities between the rating of the players. I was fighting players sometimes below my rating, sometimes well above my rating, sometimes 1,000 rating above me. One time I fought a player who was in almost the gold tier, just a few rating below the gold tier. I fought, I think his name is Timothy, whatever. I think this guy here, Timothy, he's number 2 right now. I fought this guy. I just didn't even bother, honestly, putting a team down and just put in Armiger and Cold Hearts when I was facing him. It was kind of a fun thing to do. But overall, I think Plarium needs to introduce something to change live arena, something to make it more interesting, where players will find maybe some guaranteed rewards as the reward for just playing. Even if you lose a fight, you should be getting something. Only playing for the possible rewards of live arena wins, where you get that chest for 35 wins, you get some gear pieces, seems to be a little bit too low, on the lower side, which I wouldn't recommend, as that being the reward for players who want to participate, don't have the best win rate. Plarium needs to step it up a little bit, and having Quintus as the reward is honestly a huge milestone for players to have to consider as a reward maybe a year from now, maybe, with how things develop. I would say they will also need to introduce something such as maybe additional rating earned if you get a win streak, so 2 or more wins. If you get that, you get more extra rating, extra medals, maybe something different, maybe a gear piece as a reward if you get 5 wins in a row. That will make things a lot more interesting. It's random, I know, but for now, it is what it is. This guy here mentions it's hard to play live because it's open when I arrive at work, when I'm on my way home from work, and then when I'm going to bed and while I'm sleeping. Really bad timing, but I generally like the game mode. I understand that players who voted otherwise would think like that. I do think that the timing could be better, especially during the weekends. Maybe you can have extended windows of 3-hour time slots instead of the 2-hour time slots. Make it from Friday to Sunday, something like that. Have the classic arena tournaments also bring in more rewards, so players get points for those through live arena instead of just the classic arena. So just arena, call them arena tournaments, instead of having a tag arena tournament and a classic arena tournament. Call it an arena tournament where you get points through any kind of PvP action, and then open up the window so it makes it easier. For me personally, my time zone, it's 9 to 11 a.m., which is not usually the best. I usually go work out in the morning, so I don't have time to come back and play that. And then it's 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., which is the best time for me. This is usually the time I do my most fights. But examples today, I didn't do all my fights that I could do. Not even my 10 fights. I think I did 7 fights, right? Just that. And then it's 11 p.m. So 11 at night to 1 a.m. I most commonly do not play during that time unless there's something going on with other creators, like I'm doing a collab or something. Then it's that time when I'll be on and I might do some runs, and then it's impossible for me to actually play. The schedule for me just doesn't work. Could they change it? Could they make it a little bit better? Yes, they could, but it's very difficult in a global game such as Raid, where there's no server split between players for Europe, for US, for Asia, to have, you know, if it was split like that, you would be able to have better windows of live arena open. But since it's a global game, global game mode, they kind of had to go around with this way. But I would say yes, if they opened it up in weekends where you had 3-hour windows, maybe that would be way better for every player out there. This guy Chris Says, I hate it. It's a whale mode. Nothing can change in this mode until Plarium allows us to farm or get champions another way instead of luck from a shard pool. Yes, I kind of agree with that, especially with PvP champions being so difficult to acquire. PvP specific champions, they do the 10x's, I understand, but that is just, you know, a whale hunt, right? You're searching for something and you gotta go crazy with shards to get it. I did go crazy for Harima, and we know a lot of other players did so as well. It's not easy to get those champions, and it will never be easy, it seems, to get this kind of quality of champions like Harima or Taraz. They've never done such a big fusion, which is a champion where he will be in the top of the meta for a while now. All right, Uko and Pythion can be said that they're used in that kind of sense, but again, not the same at all as, you know, damage dealers, void damage dealers. Haven't seen a void damage dealer who is top quality. Don't tell me about Supreme Lane. Haven't seen a top quality damage dealer who is there in the meta since Torment, I'm gonna say. Pure Evil right here says, it's so tedious and time consuming, I just don't care about it. Not to mention the slot for potion keeps is just idiotic. That could have easily been for Twins or Sand Devil, not good enough. Yes, the area bonuses seem to be something that everybody wants to develop. You have to do PvP to do that. Me personally have been developing my Fire Knight here. I even put in some points on Demon Lord just to see if I could boost my numbers a little bit. Didn't bother with Hydra, but overall, I like that I can develop this one. It's linked to the live arena, I know, but again, if they give out some rewards through just competition and not just through wins, maybe that would be better for the overall majority of players. Potion keeps here shouldn't have been included. This should have been probably the Iron Twins and Sand Devil, just to give, and even put it on here on grade 3. I wouldn't mind so much. I would actually put in points for that one, since it's quite a difficult part of the dungeon modes in raid. And then Pure Evil there also mentioned that this mode is so time consuming. Yes, I did mention this when I was beta testing the live arena, that this is a very time consuming part of the game. It takes 2 hours plus everything else that we do in the game to do live arena during one of the open times. Okay, it takes 2 hours to fight and probably do your 10 fights, 10 to 15 fights. It does take 2 hours, and each fight can go quite long. For the fights to go that long, they need to introduce some kind of rules where if a fight goes maybe longer than 10 minutes, some sudden death rules start to apply, such as every turn you take, your champion takes 10% damage and loses 10% of defense, so that the defensive champions cannot be there for any player out there to introduce a stall team. Imagine having to fight a stall team every fight. No, at the 10 minutes mark, every champion of theirs will start losing 10% of their health plus 10% of their defense. They'll eventually have 0 defense and will receive pure damage and will die. Okay, so if they went in there with 0 damage dealers, they will not win the fight if you just went in there with 1, I would assume. Okay, but I understand that might cause some issues, but it's a good way to introduce some kind of sudden death mode after 10 minutes so that a fight have no chance of going longer than that. In general, right now, I see sometimes posts about fights going 30 minutes, but it's not the case. For me personally, the longest I've gone was around the 20-minute mark, but sometimes I just quit. If I see it going too long, me personally, I quit the fight because I don't want to spend more time, and one attempt in live arena is not worth all that effort for me personally. The other guy wins by default, but for me personally, I just give in. So is live arena what you guys expected? Do you want to see it be the part of the game where they put in more effort as a company, as Plarium? Do you want to see a different part of the game being focused instead of PvP? Who knows? I would say they should focus their efforts in both parts of the game and add maybe something for the Doom Tower. I would say the Doom Tower is the best content that they've ever released in terms of how much players are interested in it and how long it has been since its launch, and how acceptive players are of any content that is released related to the Doom Tower. The new bosses, every time a new boss was introduced, players would go crazy about it. They love the new challenges, and players want to try out the new bosses and of course farm for gear through the Doom Tower. Live Arena, it's not the same way. Players do not like it as much as the Doom Tower. And Doom Tower has been for a good, I think the Doom Tower was out since I started playing. It was launched a little bit after, but it's been out for quite a few years, and the rewards are very well worth it. You get free champions from it, you get a lot of gear to farm, and you just get it by completing a few tasks every day. There's auto mode through climbing now up the stages. It's just not the same. And a big part of it is also rankings. A lot of players love to compete in here, the global rankings. I even had a player in the past mentioned that I should say something to Plarium about global rankings providing some sort of rewards. Here players compete in how many turns they take to complete the full thing, and players go in the Doom Tower with a plan, right? I don't want to take a lot of turns to beat the boss. So with that plan in mind, those players trying to get into the global leaderboards, if Plarium put in some kind of rewards, even small like that, even some kind of a different medal instead of the Live Arena medal, put in something for Doom Tower, you would see a lot more competition by players out there trying to beat each other on a PvE mode. So we could do that, but also for dungeons, right? Have leaderboards for dungeons, who clears dungeons the fastest, and have that in game. Lots of things that Plarium can do that I haven't seen them put in the effort as much as they could do, and make the game even better. So that being said, guys, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for participating in these community posts that I do. If you haven't, please consider subscribing to the channel so you do have, at least the access for to my community page post. Check that out, guys. Thank you all so much. If you watched this far, you guys rock, and I'll see you in the next one. Yeah, see ya.